Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Jackson and Austin's Saturday night recap live special edition. And no, we did not steal that from anybody inserting on NBC. But anywho, we are here. We made it. Some of us, not so much. Others did. Had a great rivalry week. Some of us did not. Some of us did. But to my partner to my right, I'm Austin Williams. My partner to the right, the Alabama man, Jackson Johnson. How you doing today, folks? And Jackson, how was your rivalry week? And how about them Crimson Tide pulling another rabbit out the hat?
I will say I was a little nervous because anytime we got to go Jordan Hare, that means trouble for us. And, Saban's never beaten Auburn for 4 straight years until now. But we'll cover how that all happened in just a little bit.
Yes, we will. I'm glad y'all are tuned in, folks. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be an exciting 45 minutes to an hour. And we'll start with the arguably the greatest rivalry maybe in all of college sports. But Alabama Auburn fans may argue that. We'll get to that later. But how can we not start this night any different? Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, that right there is enough. But the fact that the Big Ten championship spot was on the line, the playoffs was on the line, everything to play for, the game, no Jim Harbaugh, and Michigan finds a way to do it again. Jackson, I'll let you start on this one. What did you think of this?
I'll be honest, when watching this game, I asked myself, are people going to be way too hard on Ryan Day if Ohio State loses? And if Michigan wins, should we really start asking ourselves, is Sharon Moore the next Ryan Day? Will he be the head coach in waiting at Michigan? Because, this isn't, one of those cupcake games they got. This is the game. The game with everything all on the marbles. The division, the conference, playoff spot, shot at the natty, everything. And Harbaugh's not there. As for Ryan Day, after Ohio State lost, it was pretty sad for him. And I know there's people that compare him to John Cooper, but he's nowhere near John Cooper. John Cooper's record was it was meh. But Ryan Day, he's up there with like Jim Harbaugh and Dabo Swinney, because people tend to forget that Dabo Swinney had a losing record against South Carolina, especially from 2008 to 2014. He could not quite get it done against Steve Spurrier, except for the first time and last time he went against them. And some of the past coaches in our college football, particularly Eric Persigi at Notre Dame, he couldn't get it done against USC when he was head coach at Notre Dame, with the exception of 1965, 66, and 73. And 1965 was the only year of those 3 years where beating USC did not equal a national championship. So all those that say Ryan Day's bad coach or horrible coach or he's got to go, look at some of our past coaches in all college football and look at some of our current coaches in college football. That's all I've got to say on this. But I will say congratulations to the Michigan football team. And as for the Ohio State team, good luck. You're not out of the playoff race. We will explain as to how Ohio State is still in the playoff race later on in the show.
Very well said, Jackson. I must say, give a quick thoughts on this. I mean, this lived up to the billing. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, nothing better. Big noon kickoff, the game, everything was riding on it. And both these teams were evenly matched. This was not it wasn't like the last 2 years where it was a runaway when Michigan pulled away late in the end the last 2 years. This year, Ohio State and Michigan fought to the very end. And a lot of people give Kyle McCord crap. He played a heck of a game. He did what he was supposed to do. And that pick at the end of the game, it was not on him because his arm did get hit as he let that go. Most quarterbacks, you hit them in the arm good enough, when they release that ball, it's going to the other team. I give credit to Michigan's defense for finally getting pressure, getting home, making it where McCord was not comfortable late in the game. But I will say, though, Ohio State almost went down again like they did in South Bend. Now, the interesting thing about this, Jackson, I don't know if you saw or the people watching at home saw this, but that catch that was ruled a fumble, I do not know if the receiver had full possession of it or not. It was awful close. I'm glad that they kept it the way they were and just called it a fumble. But honestly, that was very, very close. What'd you think of that, Jackson? Would you have called that a catch and fumble, or would you call it incomplete? What were you thinking when you seen that?
To tell you the truth, I thought that was incomplete. I didn't even think that was a fumble.
Yeah, it's one of those things. McCord put a nice ball on him, so to speak, put it right in the numbers. And, it was one of those things, it was like, it was hard to tell if he established his 3 steps. As they always say, did he establish 3 steps? That's one of those calls that may go down in history that may have changed the game completely. Maybe. But Michigan still got the turnover anyway. But Jackson, if I was to tell you Kyle McCord had 56 seconds, no timeouts, down 6, what would you be telling me?
I'd have been like, he better get this right. He better be throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr.
I mean, do you think we would have seen flashes of the Notre Dame drive if he would have pulled it out? Do you think people would have been comparing those two? Like, was this one the better one, or was this the better one?
I think if he had made a game-winning drive against Michigan today, I think they would have been saying this is better than the Notre Dame drive.
That's fair. I mean, but obviously Michigan's defense came through. Now the question is, Jackson, Michigan has a date with the Iowa Hawkeyes next Saturday for the Big Ten Championship.
Oh, yeah.
And the question will be, can Michigan not throw the baby out with the bathwater, as you say, good buddy, and not let the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Iowa Hawkeyes, beat them? Because let's be honest, I give Iowa a lot of flack, and I know you have in the past too, but Iowa's got a defense. And if they could slow Michigan's run game down, it could be a long day in Indy for them. But we'll get to Iowa in a minute. But as for this, congratulations, Michigan. Looking forward to see if you could complete it. And Ohio State, you're not out of it yet. But Jackson, we would be remiss if we did not talk about the team that almost ruined Alabama's playoff hopes. Auburn almost did it again on the anniversary of the kick 6. Isn't it poetic?
I will say that. I will say it was. I always get nervous anytime we got to go to Auburn because I mean, it always gives us a scare, and everybody was saying, "Oh, Auburn can't do anything against Bama. They were losing to New Mexico State." This ain't your daddy's New Mexico State, first of all, and secondly, nobody's bringing their A game against New Mexico State, and third of all, everybody brings their A game against the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Jackson, have they not watched Auburn, Alabama enough to know The records don't matter in this game. I don't care what anybody says. Auburn could be 2-9, and I would not be surprised if this was the score. No
And I,
kidding. Go ahead, good buddy.
and I have another question. The real question is, have they not watched Hugh Freeze against Nick Saban?
I don't know, good buddy. But I will say, though, we have to point out, I think Alabama had a lucky horseshoe somewhere in Jordan Hare because today the luck went for them. Isaiah Bond, the back of the end zone. That's going to be a play that is remembered forever. You know, Alabama kick six, everyone's always pointing that out to them. Well, I think they erased a lot of that tonight. Isaiah Bond, back of the end zone. Take me through what your thoughts were, Jackson, when you saw Alabama, have that bad snap, then mill roll. What were you thinking? Like, here we go.
Honestly, when that bad snap happened, and then on 3rd and goal, when Jalen Milroe was going over the line of scrimmage, I was like, our natty hopes are over, aren't they? But then I remembered 4th and goal at the Auburn 31-yard line. The game is on the line. Milroe's bat the pass. And he throws it to Isaiah Bond. And he catches it with both feet in bounds for the game-winning touchdown. I'll tell you one thing, though. I think any place that Isaiah Bond goes to, this is how he should introduce himself. I'm Bond. Isaiah Bond.
Now, Jackson, I must ask, taking your Bama blinders off for a moment, Auburn only rushed 2 or 3. In hindsight, that may have been a bad decision because look how much time you gave Milroe. I know everyone always makes fun of Greg Williams, who did an all-out blitz against the Raiders a couple of years ago, and they were like, you don't do that. Well, it goes to show maybe sometimes you should because you gave Jalen Milroe way too much time. You gave the receivers too much of an opportunity to get separation. Auburn might have been, if they just would have all-out blitzed and been like, okay, Milroe, if you make a play, oh well. Not let him sit back there and order pizza and call his girlfriend.
I mean, that was a big win for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I will say, though, I mean, people that kind of feel like they had a bad Black Friday or a bad Saturday today, at least you're not the New York Jets. It could be much worse. I mean,
that is true. Now, Jackson, does this concern you at all for next weekend against Georgia? Because Auburn is 6-6, yes. And we know it's a rivalry, but more than likely, Bama should be beating up on Auburn just a little bit more. Does this concern you at all, or do you think classic rivalry game, we'll get it right next week against Georgia?
I think the second part you said, where you said classic rivalry game, and we'll get it right next week. Because, I mean, we've done it before. I mean, we did it in 2021. We had a tight game with Auburn. And then we got it right in the SEC title game. I feel like that could happen again next week. Because I mean, I warned everybody earlier this week. This had Auburn, Georgia all over it. Because, I mean, that was what was going to happen this Saturday. We were going to see a game closer than the experts had it. And I know there are going to be people underestimating Auburn because, you lost to New Mexico State. But I don't think you watch Hugh Freeze if you're sitting there underestimating them like that. He chews up Saban like a chicken nugget.
Yeah, and then it was just an incredible play. All props to Jalen Milroe for making that throw. That was an NFL-level throw right there. Now, I would like to know, do you think, Jackson, if you gave Jalen Milroe that throw again, do you think he gets it to bond again, or do you think we have a different result?
I don't know, honestly, but I'm just thinking about that game-winning touchdown.
Now, Jackson, before we move on, I gotta ask this:
What's
when
that?
you scored the touchdown, were you thinking we got this? It's over. Or were you thinking we left too much time? Auburn still got too much time. What were you thinking?
I didn't even think we were going to get that touchdown, honestly. I was like, at least we'll be able to play spoiler against Georgia and, just kind of have a what could have been situation. But the fact that we
Mhm.
won against Auburn with that 4th and 31 touchdown, I was just, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to say because I'm so excited.
Yeah, I will say to put the final ball on this, Jackson. I know Alabama fans don't care, but looking at it from my perspective, I feel so bad for Auburn. They had that game right in their hands, and they
I
let
think my
it
dad
go.
would agree with you on that. My dad will definitely agree with you on that.
I mean, it's true. Alabama's like, we don't care. We won. Ha ha. But for me, it's kind of like I understand the feeling, Auburn. You had it. You had them right where you wanted them, and they just. I don't want to call it a lucky play, but it was almost a miracle play in a way because it
True.
was like I don't know if they do that again. Go ahead, good buddy.
Yeah, because I mean, I was just like, I hope we get this. I hope we get this. And we did.
What a victory it was for Alabama. But Jackson, we had two great back-to-back rivalries, but unfortunately, one rivalry that is officially going away as we speak, the old
Mm.
Civil War rivalry that occurred on Black Friday. You know,
Well, at least they are trying to bring it back from what we're hearing. I mean, we don't
yes.
know the details of it, but we know they're gonna bring it back, and, I mean, they're kinda moving around some non-conference games for next year, and Oregon, I think they're gonna move around that Boise State game or that Texas Tech game. We don't know yet. We don't know the specific iron details, but we'll get there for right now. But this is the last known matchup of the Oregon State game. But first, we have to cover an update. California is leading 20-7 against UCLA with 14 minutes left in the third quarter to start off the second half. And it looks like if California wins, they can clinch bowl eligibility. But if UCLA loses, Chip Kelly is gonzo.
Hmm. But Jackson, speaking of things that are important, Oregon
There we go.
with this win could go to the Pac-12 championship and possibly play Washington for the right to go to the playoffs. And Oregon took care of business. They didn't let the Beavers hang around. What were your thoughts on this game, good buddy?
I'll be honest. Should we make Bo Nix a Heisman finalist? I mean, he should be.
Jackson, this is the one of those years where you could have six different finalists because you've got Bo Nix, Michael Penix. I'll throw Jalen Milroe in there for what he did today. Just off that should be a Heisman. And then you got Jaden Daniels, who has a great argument. You know, Marvin Harrison Jr. You got plenty of plethora of guys. This is anyone's for the taking. But Bo Nix definitely deserves to be a finalist. I mean, his numbers are absolutely outrageous. I mean, he's thrown, only 2 picks all year?
Oh, yeah. 2 picks, you're right. And
Good.
37 touchdowns.
I mean, dude's numbers is outrageous. I mean, who does that? But is he the next coming of Patrick Mahomes or what? Maybe that's too much, but yeah.
I think that's an overreaction. Nobody is the next Patrick Mahomes.
That is true, good buddy. That is true. Let's pump the brakes, give him a chance.
That's
But
kind
yeah,
of throwing the cart in before the horse.
That is true. That is true. Goodbye. That is true. But I
Well, we
will
got
say,
ukulele having 220 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 19 of 35 completed passes. But unfortunately, that was not enough.
Jackson, I was looking forward to this game tremendously, and I left this game disappointed. Like, I thought Oregon State would give a better fight, but Oregon just, let's be honest, they whipped them. They taught them a lesson and whipped them.
Oh, yeah. Oregon got out the belt and just gave them a spanking is what they did. They kind of just spanked the Beavers with their own beaver tails.
Yeah. That's what happened, Jackson. They basically said, "Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?" But yeah, congratulations to
Beavers should use those teeth on those duck arms.
But before we move on, since there's probably nothing else to discuss, congratulations, Oregon. And it'll be Oregon, Washington next week in Las Vegas. And when the lights go out, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be the last stand of the Pac 12 next Friday. So enjoy it, love it, record it if you have DVR, because we won't see another Pac 12 game maybe ever in our lifetime again. So enjoy it while we can. And speaking of Washington, they survived too. Washington State almost did the Pac-12 thing and screwed it up for the Huskies. But Jackson, we can say for certainty that the Apple Cup will be back for the next 5 years, including a game next year in Lumen Field in Seattle, which is considered a neutral site. So I'm glad to see the Apple Cup is coming back because I hope we get more games like this, and we look forward to it. But what was your take on today's game and just the fact that they were able to work this out and keep this rivalry going?
I'll be honest, we're watching how Washington State's been performing. As you know, I've referred to them as the Syracuse of the Pac-12 until they beat Colorado, which I guess we can go ahead and say Colorado takes that title now. But Washington State, it was pretty big when I saw them leading against Washington. I'm like, this is real? Oh my God. I guess not being bowl eligible was a reality check for Washington State. Because, I mean, we saw Cam Ward having his magic again. He had 32 of 48 completed passes, 317 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Unfortunately, it was not enough, but he was able to get the job done. But hey, we got another great performance from Michael Penix. 18 of 33 completed passes, 204 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And here's his good buddy, Roma Dunze, 7 receptions, 120 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like, great plays by these young men today. I mean, oh my God. I mean,
now, Jackson, now, I will have to say, though, do you think Washington was playing a little look ahead to Oregon?
I think it was a little bit of that, but I think it was also rivalry week where you just kind of throw the stats out and you kind of forget about the records and you just kind of stick a fork in your rival's hopes.
And that would have been the Pac-12 thing to do, good buddy. That would have been. But we do have to bring up one other notable big Black Friday game. Texas whipping Texas Tech with the commissioner front row watching. After what he said about Texas and Texas Tech, he told Tech to make it interesting and beat them. Well, guess what happened? Your boys at Tech got spanked. I mean, Jackson, I'll let you start first with this.
I will say this was another fantastic performance by Quinn Ewers. And we saw Jaden Blue have a great performance with 10 carries, 120 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. And Xavier Worthy made some big plays as well. I mean, he made that great touchdown. I mean, I mean, we saw that pick six. That was pretty big right then and there. But I will ask this, Austin. Now, Texas Tech is the common opponent of Oregon and Texas. Now, for the sake of argument, we see Texas win the Big 12. Our good buddy Austin will be right back. His connection is fixed at the moment. He is buffering. He is buffering. He is buffering, and he's back. And I was going to ask, so Texas Tech is the common opponent of Texas and Oregon. If Oregon wins the Pac-12 next Friday and Texas wins the Big 12, do you think Texas has more of a leg up than Oregon because of, one, Texas has that big win over Alabama and Tuscaloosa, and two, Texas beat Texas Tech by 50, whereas Oregon beat Texas Tech by 8. Do you think Oregon's victory is going to be held against them, or do you think Texas will be rewarded for their style points? What do you think?
Jackson, I'm glad you bring that up. Honestly, Jackson, I don't think that the committee's not going to look at this. If I'm being honest, if they're going to look at that Bama win more than they will anything, because they're going to be like, Bama. Well, because here's the thing. I know you're supposed to look at common opponents. I get why you're bringing this up, but I think the fact that Texas won by 10 on the road in Tuscaloosa, that's going to be the only thing they're going to look at. They're going to care less about what they did against Tech. Now, if Oregon beats Washington and gets revenge, then maybe you can start to see the wheels turn in the committee's head like, oh, they did get revenge, but we got this over here. Now, what sucks for Texas, Jackson, is they don't get a chance to revenge their only loss. That may be the deciding factor.
Yeah. And we'll definitely be going over the rest of the Big 12 in a little bit. You know, like Oklahoma, TCU. I mean, I got to be honest. Maybe it's just me, but that Oklahoma TCU game looked like a dominant basketball game to me. But then again, this is Big 12 football we're talking here.
Yeah. To give a couple quick thoughts on this, I wasn't surprised. I just did not expect Oklahoma to score that much. I kind of figured they would play with a little sense of urgency, but I did not expect them to put up 69. I mean, good grief, Oklahoma.
Well, this is the third time they scored 60 points this season.
It is. And which Oklahoma, they still had an outside chance to win the Big 12 championship. Make the Big 12 championship game, pardon me. And Texas fans, I'm sure, were hoping and praying that Oklahoma State would fall, because then they would get a chance to avenge that loss. But you'll have to wait till next year, Texas, because the Oklahoma State Cowboys and Mike Gundy are coming, and they're coming to get you. And I will say, though, Jackson, I think we all owe Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy an apology. We threw him out with the bathwater, as you like to say. We threw the baby out with the bathwater, good buddy, after that South Alabama game. If you would, my good assistant.
Everybody did. So it was just kind of like we all kind of gave up on them.
And Oklahoma State, they beat a very good BYU team today. A very good BYU team. I'm very happy for them. And you know, Mike Gundy, like I said, I owe you an apology. I'm sorry. I threw the baby out with the bathwater. And, you know,
everything around
it's one of those things. Now, Jackson, you had the good pleasure of talking to your good buddy of Locked On Okie State, Cody Stovall, and you all touched on Mr. Mike Gundy. How do you think they're feeling now that he's got him to the Big 12 title game? I bet their mood has really changed now.
I think some of them are still pretty unhappy, but there's a lot of them that are pretty happy with him at the moment. But I'll tell you, the one guy that's really been the key reason why Oklahoma State's had this magical journey, Ollie Gordon, 34 carries today, 166 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. I mean, this guy is tied for third in the nation in rushing yards for the season. And not only that, but he's tied for fifth for rushing touchdowns in the season. I mean, this guy is a baller. I mean, he is a baller right there. I mean, next year he's going to be a junior, which means he's going to be eligible for the draft. But from now on, I call junior players the junior dogs. What do you think about that, Austin?
That's an interesting name. And I think Ollie Gordon could stake his claim for a Heisman spot too. An incredible year. But I do have to say, Jackson, Alan Bowman and his turnovers, they are very concerning. They almost blew it again today. BYU, I don't know. Jackson, we may need to call them the Syracuse of the Big 12 because this team looks different every week. They get blown out by TCU one week, and then the next week they're taking Oklahoma State down to the wire, and it takes overtime. That's why it's very like they're very Jekyll and Hyde-ish. Them and UCF. But go ahead though, good buddy.
Yeah, BYU. I've got plenty of questions about them. I hope they don't have another season like this next year. And if they are, then Kalani Sitake is definitely in big trouble.
Now let me ask you this, Jackson, before we move on. What would the committee do? Let's put this out here. What if Oklahoma State beats Texas? Then what would the committee do?
They'll go to a New Year's Six Bowl. Texas will get knocked out of the playoff race.
Now, here's the thing. Is there a chance both Texas and Oklahoma State make New Year's Sixes? Or if that means Oklahoma State would get it in Texas, sorry, you get to go to the Cheez-It Bowl or something. And Oklahoma State gets that.
I would say both of them have a chance at a New Year's Six in a way if Oklahoma State wins. But if Texas wins, I think you're going to see Oklahoma State in the Alamo Bowl.
I mean, that's fair. And how cool would it be, though, Jackson, to see Oklahoma State in another New Year's Six? That'd be cool. But, we got to give a shout out, though. Another interesting game, Jackson, that took place in the Big Ten. Give them a quick shout out. The Michigan State Spartans and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State taking care of business on the road in Ford Field, getting to 10 wins and possibly clinching New Year's Six bowl hopes, depending on the playoff results and how everything else shakes out. Jackson, give me your quick thoughts on this game, good buddy, and tell me what you thought.
I got to be honest. I was super excited in the month of May when I heard that there's going to be a second Big Ten Black Friday game. But here's the better part. We were going to see a November night game on Rivalry Week on NBC in Big Ten country. And I got a feeling this is going to be a reality for next year and beyond as well. Because, I mean, it's nice watching Nebraska-Iowa. I love watching Nebraska-Iowa every year. Having some Thanksgiving leftovers and watching Nebraska play Iowa amongst the other games. But it was pretty nice having a second Big Ten game. I mean, Todd Blackledge, I'm sure, is pretty happy getting to watch his alma mater, Penn State, just beat the tar out of Michigan State. I mean, Drew Allar had another great game. 17 of 26 completed passes, 292 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Katron Allen had 137 rushing yards, 15 carries. Nick Singleton had 18 carries, 118 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. Great stats by these young men, man. But my question is, Singleton possibly sit out? No, I don't think we will yet. I don't think we're gonna see him sit out for the bowl. I did wonder if we will. Anybody else on this?
Yeah. Congratulations, Penn State, on getting another 10-win season. They took care of business. They did their thing. Congratulations. But Jackson, I'm glad you brought up Nebraska, Iowa, because we got to talk about that.
Oh God.
Because I will toot my own horn. In my preview and prediction video this week, shameless plug, go check out my channel, great stuff, and go check out Jackson's. I predicted 13-10 Iowa. No kidding. You can go back and look at the tape. I said 13-10 Iowa. Something told me it was going to be 13-10. I don't know what it was, but, and that's crazy, but this is high scoring according to Iowa. If they get over 10 points, whoo, that's a blazing streak right there, good buddy. Jackson, you better watch out, good buddy. If Iowa plays Bama in a New Year's 6, woo, they can get on a hot streak now, good buddy, with those 13 points. I don't know if Bama can handle that.
Oh man,
but what was your thoughts on this game, good buddy?
That's
game,
so
good
awesome.
buddy, and go ahead.
Called this game like you saw it. Like you were like, "Oh, this is gonna be 13-10 game." Wow. I mean, I'm so proud of you, man.
Well, the thing is, Jackson, it's Iowa games aren't hard to predict a lot of times. I know you in the past, good buddy, have predicted some of them as well. I mean, Iowa, they have no offense. If you say Iowa wins 13-10, that's almost too much points. But yeah, what was your thoughts on this game, though, good buddy? And what do you think about Nebraska fans wanting to fire Matt Rule already? Because there's been that chat already.
It's not the majority of fans. It's a few naysayers that are running. A few naysayers that are kind of running their mouths, wanting to hear themselves talk. That's what I think. I mean, if it was Matt Rule's 5th year, then I understand. But this is 1st year. 2nd year is going to be better, but the 3rd year is going to be a breakout year. They're going to really take over the town by the time it hits Matt Rule's 3rd year. But as we get to the 4th quarter, I really thought Nebraska would be able to get the job done. But they got picked off by Ethan Herkett. And then we see Iowa taking advantage of it, getting the field goal, big win. And I will say, this is not the first time that Nebraska lost a one-possession game. We look at the last 4 games, and who would have thought Nebraska would be 5-3, then ending the season at 5-7?
Disappointment, good buddy, disappointment. But yeah, Jackson, for all those people in the Nebraska fan base that are saying we need to fire Matt Rule, he's no better than Scott Frost, they need to cut that out. I mean, people are so impatient.
Maybe they should.
He went 5-7. I mean, he went 5-7. He was only 1 game away from a bowl. You're acting like you were 1-11. You're acting like you were 1-11 or 0-12. Matt Rule's not that far. Nebraska more than likely might make a bowl next year. I don't know if they'll compete in the Big Ten or not. I'm not going to say that. But they more than likely will make a bowl next year. Matt Rule has been known to turn programs around. Look what he did at Baylor. He did a phenomenal job. Now, if you look at his Carolina Panther coaching tree, you might have an argument. But I mean, if we're talking just strictly college.
And look at how he turned around Temple. Like, first year was pitiful. 2nd year was a bowl game appearance. 3rd year, he had him ready and raring to go on college game day against Notre Dame. Then in 2016, they win that conference title. I'm saying we're going to see stuff like that happen at Nebraska. He's making Nebraska great again. That's for sure.
Now, here's the thing, Jackson. Do you think Nebraska can compete with the new Big Ten?
3 words. Yes. Definitely. Absolutely.
I like it. Have a little confidence in them. Okay. Well, because there are 4 new additions, and it might be a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, but we shall see. But Jackson, speaking of another Big Ten team trying to get bowl eligibility, Illinois losing 45-43 to the Northwestern Wildcats. And Northwestern 7-5. Who could have called this? I
None of
mean,
us. Nobody could
the
have.
Big Ten, Jackson, the Big Ten Coach of the Year, give it to David Braun. There should be no competition out there. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
But people who say Ryan Day and all them, Ryan Day had a great situation. David Braun walked into a poor situation, and that's being nice. And to get them to 7-5, that's incredible. What was your take on this game, good buddy, and just the overall job that David Braun has done for Northwestern?
Oh, Lord. David Braun's done a tremendous job over in Evanston, Illinois. But I really thought Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini would get the job done against Northwestern. But, that's okay. There's next year. But remember, there's no divisions in the Big Ten next year. So that means life's going to get tougher for everybody in Big Ten country.
Now, Jackson, I do want to point out another Big Ten game, but congratulations to Northwestern. The Paul Bunyan Axe game.
Shout out. Shout
Oh,
out to our friends. Shout out to our friends of the show, Illini Cast and the Wild Chat. Congrats to the Wild Chat at Northwestern and Illini Cast. Sorry about Illinois losing. I wish you guys nothing but awesomeness in the year of 2024.
couldn't agree more, good buddy. But you know something, Jackson? Wisconsin has the Paul Onion Axe back in Wisconsin, and they're 7-5 and going to a bowl game. What'd you think of this game, good buddy?
I've got to be honest with you. I've got to feel Wisconsin is building momentum for 2024. Because, they've heard all this talk about, Luke Fickell's new offense is not getting anything done. He needs to go back to the old offense. Okay, this is his first year, not his 5th year. Good grief. And we see Mordecai's not simping for Margaret as he's got 145 passing yards, 14 of 22 completed passes, and 2 touchdowns. Braylon Allen, when you think of Wisconsin, you think of top-notch running backs, especially when looking at the history of that football program. Braylon Adam, 26 carries, 165 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And Jackson, I don't know about you, but I feel like Minnesota is turning into Iowa. Their offense is atrocious. I was watching this game, and their offense couldn't move the ball whatsoever. They were making Wisconsin's defense look elite.
Yeah. But we will say, even though Minnesota lost, we're going to show a little something real quick. Now, we're going to show how Minnesota still has a shot at bowl eligibility. However, you know why? Because they have a good APR. Now, let's kind of enlarge that tweet a little bit from Brett McMurphy. Now, bowl update with 2 games left, 80 teams in, including James Madison, Jacksonville State. The final 2 spots go to Cal if it beats UCLA, and Colorado State if it beats Hawaii. But if there's only 1 win between Cal and Colorado State, then Minnesota is in. If both Cal and Colorado State lose, then Minnesota and Mississippi State get the final 2 spots. We'll definitely get to Mississippi State and Ole Miss here in a minute, but we're going to show you the APR rankings of where Minnesota is. For those who are just tuning in, now you see Northwestern, it's obvious they're a good academic school. But you see Minnesota, they still got that good APR. Now, if Wake Forest had beaten Syracuse today, they would have had a shot at bowl eligibility simply because of that APR. Now we look at South Carolina, no, Mississippi State. There they are, Mississippi State. They are tied 19th in the APR. So they got a tremendous academic progress record. But then let's look at South Carolina. They are tied 23rd with the APR. Oh, there's your boys at Louisville. You know, if Michigan State had possibly upset Penn State last night, they would have had shot bowl eligibility if there weren't enough bowl eligible teams. What do you think about that, Austin?
I mean, it's all very interesting. I do have to say, I'm not into all those numbers like that. I'm not that into it, but it is very interesting to look at, though. But Jackson, I'm glad you brought up Ole Miss, Mississippi State, because it was a Turkey Day game. You know, Thanksgiving night after you had that nice mac and cheese and mama's mashed potatoes and turkey and ham and pumpkin pie. We got to watch a little NFL football, and we got to watch the Egg Bowl while we were at it.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness, Jackson.
Huh?
Oh, my goodness, Jackson. Ole Miss only put up 17 points. Oh, Lord.
And here's the thing right there. Only 3 points in the first half.
I don't. Ole Miss, are you there? I mean, Jackson, we've seen Ole Miss put up 30, 35, 40 points a game, and they only managed to score 17. Now, I get it. It's a rivalry game, Thanksgiving night, the emotions, 1 year to the day of Mike Leach's last win. Rest in peace to Mike Leach. I kind of watched this game with a heavy heart, thinking about Mr. Leach and how he won this game last year. But enough about that. Jackson, what were your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, it was like I pointed out in the APR. Mississippi State, even though they lost, they still have a shot at bowl eligibility, but they could have won this game, just like to make sure they got bowl eligibility. But if they don't make it to the bowl game, which it's not looking likely at the moment, then it'll be the first time since 2008 that they've missed a bowl game. As for the Ole Miss Rebels, they still have a shot at a New Year's Six Bowl, but we could possibly see Tulane getting in instead because you got to have a Group of 5 representative in a New Year's Six Bowl, which we're going to get to Missouri here in just a minute.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Jackson, flash Missouri up there, why don't you? How did they handle their rivals, Arkansas? Did they put a spanking on them? Oh, good gravy, they did.
Oh, yeah. They got out the belt and just kind of used their tiger tails with their little butts, and those Razorbacks going, wee, wee, wee.
Good gravy, Arkansas. What happened?
They Missouri made them squeal like a piggy is what happened.
I mean, as you can tell by my shocked look, I actually did not see much of this game. So, Jackson, fill me in. What did I miss?
I don't think you missed a whole lot, man. I think you're missing Arkansas regretting giving Sam Pittman the vote of confidence. I think that's the one thing you're missing right there. Missouri may have just clinched their shot at a New Year's Six Bowl. So they're in a New Year's Six Bowl. But Missouri made them squeal. That's what happened. I mean, I got a feeling you were watching the Fail Mary Pick Sets for the Jets on Amazon Prime. That's what I'm thinking, honestly.
Well, I caught a little bit of this. I didn't catch all of it, but I caught a little bit. And then I saw the score, and I'm like, well, back to the other game. But, yeah. Congratulations, Missouri, on a 10-win season. And I'll say it one more time. And I don't know about you, Jackson, but I'm regretting picking them at 3-9 right about now.
Man,
They're making us look like fools. Bad.
dude,
You know,
no
Eli
worries,
Drinkwitz.
man. These things happen. These things happen.
Eli Drinkwitz, I think, just earned him another 2 years on his contract and some bonuses and some more money altogether.
Oh,
Because Missouri,
dude's about to have a pina colada, man. He's gonna be so great with that.
true. But Jackson, those were all the Black Friday. Well, Tulane and UTSA. That was a big one because the winner of that went to the American Championship game. I was about to say that covers all of the Black Friday games, but no, it didn't. Tulane. Oh, let me give him a proper introduction, good buddy. Your boys at Tulane, Jackson, got it done, and they are going on to the American Championship to battle the SMU Mustangs next Saturday.
Oh yeah, the Pony Express, baby. We're gonna see Tulane and the Pony Express go against one another. It's gonna be a New Orleans
Jackson.
coastal wave for sure.
Well, Jackson, real quick, how you feeling? You got your boys at Bama and you got your boys at Tulane in the conference championships. Isn't it nice to have two teams in?
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
Well, speaking of boys, I guess we got to talk about my boys and what they did today in the Governor's Cup.
We might as well,
I'm dreading.
man. Well, yeah, that's what we gotta do.
Jackson,
so
start us off, good buddy. Start us off, good buddy. Take the pain away.
I honestly thought Louisville would be able to get it done, but somebody forgot to remind me this is rivalry week. Somebody's gonna spoil it all for somebody, especially on rivalry week. And I will say Kentucky spoiled the slim playoff hopes you guys had, but let's not forget you still got the ACC title to play for. You get to play a little playoff spoiler yourself. That way you can say, if I can't get in, nobody can get in. So that's the way it goes. I mean, Ray Davis at Kentucky made an amazing game-winning 37-yard touchdown. I mean, it was a great play by him, by the way. And what else? He has 76 rushing yards, 14 carries. Devin Larry had 12 of 22 completed passes, 206 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Mr. Plummer, 24 of 33 completed passes, 242 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, that was not enough for Louisville to get the job done against the Kentucky Wildcats. I am sorry.
Okay.
But I will say, despite the fact you guys lost to Kentucky today, you've had a fantastic year, and there's still a lot to play for. And I'll be honest, I can't wait to see you guys get revenge against Kentucky next year. I mean,
I appreciate that, Jackson, but unfortunately, good buddy, it was not good. I'll be honest. I'm very disappointed. I'm very upset about this performance. You know, Plummer fumbling the ball. You know, they allowed Kentucky to go up 31-24. Then he came back and made the great 4th and 6 play to Amari Huggins-Bruce, and we tied the game. And then Ray Davis ran all over us at the end, and it was just one of those things. It just wasn't meant to be. You know, we hadn't had this bad a performance since Pitt, but you know something, Jackson, I'm kind of glad this happened because now, guess what? We're mad, we're angry, and we got Florida State next week. And if we came into that game complacent, we would have got our butts chewed. But guess what? We're mad, we're angry. We don't want to lose. We want to show people that we are the team that we say that we are. And I hope Jeff go ahead.
Here comes the I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore moment. Let's bring it, man. Let's bring it.
I mean, here's the thing. People talking about Florida State, the playoffs, you know what? And talking how people have forgotten about us all year. Well, you know what? That's fine. You can forget about us. But if we beat Florida State next week, you'll have no choice but to acknowledge us. And, and you can make all the excuses. That we didn't have Jordan Travis. I get that, but you can't blame us for that. We did our job. That's it. We did our job. We're the best team in the ACC. We did our part. We can't help Jordan Travis got hurt. It's like with Alabama, good buddy. No, a lot of people try to throw that excuse at you, but not as much. Everyone remembers the 2020 national championship game when Ohio State had all those COVIDs and injuries. No one said a word about it. And then what about LSU? Tua was hobbling on one leg, but no one said nothing about that. Oh, no, because it's Alabama and it's certain teams. But if we do something good, guess what? There's an asterisk on it. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. We've had a great season. We beat Notre Dame. And, dang it, we have a chance to win the ACC. We have a chance to spoil Florida State's season. And I hope we can get it done. Because I'm sick and tired of being overlooked by everyone, Jackson. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm done with it. I'll always love my team, but it's time they put some respect on us. We are a top 10 team. We have shown that all freaking year. And let's show it next Saturday. Let's show everyone why we are here. Let's show everyone why Jawar Jordan is the best running back in the country, in the ACC. Let's show the world. Jeff Brom, this is for you. Get the guys ready to play. Show them how disrespected we are. I'll always love this team no matter what happens. But let's get this done. Let's win the ACC. Let's prove we're the best. Let's spoil someone's season. I'm done now, good buddy. Go ahead.
I love it, man. Bravo, man. Give this man an ACC title, man. He needs it.
Well, Jackson, when you've been doubted a lot this year, it's just one of those things. I apologize, but I let it go because
that's what this is beautiful content. That's what we're here for. Give people what they desire.
But as for Florida State, though, congratulations to them for hanging on without Jordan Travis. But
true. I mean, their defense was bringing out the ballroom blitz against Florida. And I will say though,
first dibs on
Billy
Cyber Monday deals.
Join on the hot
now because members shop online.
I mean, we know he's not going to be getting fired after this year, but we know he's going to be put on a hot seat. Now, yes, Florida has a great recruiting class for 2024. That means nothing. That it's no good if he can't do anything with that top recruiting class.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make something clear. I have no problem with Florida State. I'm happy that they got the win. No problems with them. And I know you were just talking about Florida, good buddy, which I'll get to their side of it here in just a second. We'll make it clear. I got no problems with Florida State or any of their fan bases. They've got a cool fan base. I'm talking to the people out there in the media that don't watch college football and just watch results and say, oh, Florida State's by far the best team. That's not the case. Because if you look at today, you can make an argument Auburn was better than Alabama if you want to look at it that way. But we don't look at it that way. We look at who played the best and who didn't. And today, Alabama did not play their best. Auburn did. They were the better team today. They just couldn't win it at the end. That's all. But congratulations, Florida State. And as for Mr. Napier, he's getting the Dan Mullen treatment, Jackson.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That is for sure.
Now, here's my question to you. Oh, go ahead. Here's my question to you. Dan Mullen did get Florida to an SEC title. Can Billy Napier get it done?
going to be tough. Not saying it can't be done, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, very true, very true. But we also have to acknowledge this too, Jackson. The SEC doesn't get any easier with Texas, Oklahoma next year either.
Oh.
Put that into perspective. But speaking of the SEC, ACC, good buddy, how did our friends Clemson do today? Did they represent the state of South Carolina good?
Oh, yeah. You know what was funny, though? It's the second time this year that we've seen President Trump at a college football game. First time was at Iowa State. He decided he wanted to go see Clemson, South Carolina, although he probably should have gone to see Michigan, Ohio State if he wanted to see a really good game. I mean, somebody's got to tell him Spurs not coaching at South Carolina anymore. I mean, although Shane Beamer is a pretty good coach, but still, I don't know why. But this isn't political stuff. This is college football. You came here to talk. You came here to listen to college football. And you came here to see how Cade Klubnik did. What did he do? Oh, 15 of 27 completed passes, 100 passing yards. No touchdowns. Ooh, that's pitiful. That's pitiful. This was like an Iowa offense. That's pitiful. Pitiful. Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful.
Jackson, I was watching this game. I swear I was watching Iowa in orange and red. I mean, both offenses stunk today. I mean, not stunk. Maybe stunk is the wrong word. Maybe we should give a little credit to the defenses. Maybe the defenses are a little better. Go ahead, though. Good.
Yeah, that defense. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, the defenses were truly amazing in tonight's game. Let's see if there were any turnovers. Well, you know, Clemson forced 2 turnovers. South Carolina only forced 1. I mean, it was just holy cow.
Indeed. But I will say, though, Clemson getting things turned around looks like they're still struggling a bit. They did hold South Carolina to 7, but let's see if Clemson can keep this up in their bowl game. But Jackson, there was another big-time state showdown. Actually, 2. We'll start with this one. How about them Wolfpack versus them Tar Heels, a classic rivalry, renewed on a Saturday night? Let's see what happened in Riley. Did the Wolfpack howl at night, or did the Tar Heels ram them? Oh my! The Wolves are howling tonight.
Oh man, they spanked them.
I will say, Jackson, what happened in North Carolina? They were in the talks to be in a New Year's Six bowl themselves. They could have been in our position, but then they blew it to Virginia, then to Georgia Tech, and then they lose to Clemson, and then they get spanked by their rival. Good grief. Did Drake May and Mac Brown just give up? Or is their defense just that bad?
The defense is that bad. And, I mean, I think they need to start asking questions about the future, really. I mean, it's just – I like Matt Brown. He's a good guy. He's a pretty good coach. And I know he says he's returning for 2024. But, I mean – it's time to start planning ahead for the future in Chapel Hill. And I think you need to go and get Jamie Chadwell as the head coach in waiting.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations to NC State for claiming state pride, but North Carolina, you got a lot of things to think about. But Jackson, what about Georgia Tech? That was a thrilling game, more than I expected. Normally, that's a blowout of a game, but Georgia survived again. The Yellow Jackets almost stung the Bulldogs in the butt. Go ahead, good buddy.
Oh, man, those Bulldogs, they could have been going, yow! But I mean, it was a pretty good performance by Carson Beck, Kendall Milton. I mean, 156 rushing yards, 18 carries, 2 touchdowns. Great game by this young man. Haynes King did pretty well tonight. 158 passing yards, but he couldn't get any touchdowns. Let's see if Georgia forced any turnovers. Well, no, they didn't. Georgia Tech was doing all the turnovers. They were forcing turnovers on those Bulldogs.
And Jackson, they call this clean old-fashioned hate.
Oh, yeah.
It was that. I mean, and here's the thing. I'll give Georgia Tech credit. Maybe they're getting better. Because last year, this game was a thumping by Georgia. This year, getting a little closer. Now, Jackson, we could contribute that this is rivalry week, and you throw the record books out, throw the stats out, and you kind of look at it and say, it's rivalry week. You can't really judge how good a team's got.
Yeah, that is true, man. And as a wise old man at ESPN named Chris Berman always says, that's why they play the games.
And speaking of that's why you play the games, good buddy, on to another interesting game. Iowa State, Kansas State. Matt Campbell was able to turn the Cyclones around. Almost forgot their mascot, for Christ's sakes. Even though Kansas State was eliminated from Big 12 contention, they still could have won this game and got to 9-3 and maybe gotten a nice Citrus Bowl or a Cheez-It Bowl bid. But Matt Campbell, the Fighting Soups, as some people call him, got the 7-point dub. What did you think, good buddy?
Oh, this looks like another Big 12 game where everybody's having a great offensive performance. I mean, Rocco Beck had 8 of 12 completed passes, 230 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Great performance by old Rocco. And we see Abu Sama III getting 276 rushing yards, 16 carries, and 3 touchdowns. That is a great performance by this young man. And we see Will Howard had a great performance with 288 passing yards, but unfortunately, it was not enough to get the win. Let's look at the total yards for offense. So we got 488 yards on total offense for Iowa State, 497 total yards on offense for Kansas State. What's your take on that, Austin? So
I was muted for a second. I'll be honest with you. I was more invested in the Georgia Tech Georgia game. I didn't know Iowa State won until I saw it on the scoreboard, to be honest with you, good buddy. So because normally Georgia Tech Georgia isn't that close, and I thought maybe the Dogs would get upset, but they didn't. But like you said, this is another Big 12 game, so it's nothing unusual.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that Brett Yormark decided that the Farmageddon rivalry is not going to be an annual game. I mean, it should be, but apparently it's not going to be. I mean, they're still playing each other, but it won't be annual. And so I added up the total yards on offense. I combined it, and it's 985 total yards combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very interesting, good buddy. But I will say, Jackson, there was one game that I think we need to cover.
What's that?
And it's kind of poetic. Notre Dame Stanford, the final game on the Pac-12 network. Did Stanford upset the Irish again?
No.
And no, they did not. Stanford screwed it up again.
Can you believe Stanford's going to be an ACC team next year? I still can't believe that.
Stanford, you could have sent the Pac-12 network off with a swan song by beating the Irish, but instead, you got beat. What was your take on this game, good buddy?
Well, we see Audrey Estime had 25 carries, 238 rushing yards, and 4 total touchdowns. This is a great performance by this young man. So he was pretty awesome. But the question is, will he opt out of the bowl game? We're not sure. But if this was his last game, well, we wish you nothing but awesomeness in your future endeavors. But we see Notre Dame have 521 total yards on offense. I mean, the rushing yards, they were pretty amazing right there. And, this was a crazy game right here.
Yes, indeed it was, good buddy. Yes, indeed it was. But Jackson, is there any other interesting games that popped off the scoreboard to you before we talk about what we've got going on and talking about what is next week, what's ahead for everybody? And let the people in on some things.
I'm getting pretty interested in the last ever Pac-12 regular season game in California UCLA. Now, if California wins, they are bowl eligible. But if we see UCLA win, Chip Kelly probably keeps his job, but it's not looking likely for Chip Kelly tomorrow. I'm thinking Black Sunday is coming for him. So,
But Jackson,
it's pretty
rivalry
ugly.
week is behind us, good buddy, old pal. What was your takeaway from this weekend? Or what's some things that you look forward to?
Oh, for next week, I'm looking forward to Conference Title Week. I'm curious to see who's going to be that Group of 5 representative. I don't know if it's going to be Liberty or the winner of the AAC title game, but we know it's not going to be the Mount West. We know that. We're not going to see UNLV getting in a New Year's Six Bowl, though it would be nice. But I would love to see if Toledo gets an outside shot at getting in, or if Miami, Ohio gets in. I mean, again, I know that's not going to happen. We're not going to see the MAC try to get in. We're unfortunately not going to see the Mount West get a shot. And we're most certainly not going to see the Sun Belt get a shot. But we know it's either going to come down to the winner of Tulane and SMU, or it's going to come down to Liberty winning the Conference USA title game. But here's another thing I was thinking about. Ohio State still has a shot at a playoff berth. Now, I got a feeling they were definitely pretty happy with Louisville loss, because that meant they needed that to happen. So what's going to happen is they're pulling for your boys next week on ABC when watching the ACC title game. They're definitely going to pull for Georgia to beat Alabama. They need Oklahoma State to pull off the upset over Texas in the Big 12 title game. And they need Michigan to win the Big 10 title against Iowa. As for the Pac-12, they don't need anything else.
Now, I will say, though, the scenario you laid out, though, Georgia takes care of business, they're in. Michigan takes care of business, they're in. There's 2 spots occupied. If Washington takes care of business, that leaves 1 spot. That means it'll either go to Texas or Ohio State or possibly Florida State, just depending on what happens.
But, it's like
Jackson,
I said.
Go ahead, good buddy.
But it's like I said, they'll need Mike Gundy to pull off his magic against the Longhorns. And they'll need your boys to take down Florida State.
But yeah, there are some notable matchups next week. Obviously, the big one, Georgia, Alabama, probably going to be the most watched conference title game in a long time. Got my boys, Louisville against Florida State. You got Iowa, Michigan, which Iowa, Michigan, you could probably take a nap through that one and you wouldn't miss a thing. Let's be honest. You'll have Tulane, SMU, and then the final Pac-12 championship game ever will be taking place in Vegas on Friday night as Washington and Oregon rematch one more time in Pac-12 play. But before we get out of here, quick programming note, we will be back next weekend to recap the conference titles, talk about all the playoff scenarios for Selection Sunday, and me and Jackson will break down what we thought of everything, if we liked the way the games went, if we didn't. But Jackson, talk to the people about what you got going on this week on your lovely Jacksonian, and where can they find you if they want to come speak to you about your Crimson Tide.
Well, they can definitely find me on Twitter. They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on Threads. And they can also like, comment, and subscribe to @JacksonJohnson979 so that you do not miss another video whatsoever. And Austin, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me here on my YouTube channel. Got a lot of great content coming out. Conference title previews will be out this week. I got a couple more videos coming out about the coaches coming out, and you'll see me back here Saturday with Jackson, hopefully in a better mood. Hopefully the Kings of the ACC. Hopefully won't hold myself to it, but you can find me there, and let's hopefully we can get the job done and bring it home. As disappointing as it is for us, at least it's a wake-up call, and we're ready to play Florida State next weekend. But I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Me and Jackson really do appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, all that. We appreciate you enjoying this. We're having a blast doing it, and we can't wait to break down conference title week, because that's the most fun time of the year, because you got all these scenarios. Will we have a 2-loss team get in somehow? Who knows? Yeah, who knows, Jackson? Maybe a 7-5 team will get in. No, I'm just joking. If they let a 7-5 team in, we got a problem. But
yeah,
that'll be
almost threw up in my mouth a little bit. Almost threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Now, Jackson, quick side note before we get out of here, in the 12-team playoff, we could see a 7-5 conference champion get a bye. Just be prepared for that, good buddy.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. But I will say, though, one thing to remember: Isaiah Bond is a name that will live forever in Iron Bowl history.
That is for sure. No matter if he gets drafted or not, everyone's going to remember his name in the annals of time. People talk about the kick six. I think Isaiah Bond back of the end zone will be right there next to it when you talk about great Alabama-Auburn moments. I'm sure Jackson won't forget it for quite a while. I'm not going to forget it, because that was a heck of a catch. And to all you Alabama fans out there, to all of our fans, we hope you had a happy holidays. Hopefully you had a happy Black Friday. God bless you all, and we'll see you next Saturday.
That we will. Stay safe and stay warm. It's cold out. Stay inside.